I will ascend to heaven and elevate my throne. Part 3.
The President of the United States is often considered the most powerful person on the planet, since the United States is a superpower, with a powerful army, nuclear weapons, the largest economy in the world, and biggest influence over the entire planet. That is why, in the last manifestation of Christ, she lives in the United States, since Christ is the fulfillment of the figure of the Rock of Ages that followed the man of sin in the desert. Because, secretly, he thinks he can ascend to the highest, control all the minds, and remain unpunished for all his aberrations, the 7 abominations that God abhors. That is why the current Antichrist, Donald Trump, became president and wants to return to power to enslave us under a dictatorship, something he could not achieve in his only term as president. He has demonstrated that he only protects himself and his accomplices. He is willing to grant pardons to all who are delinquents like him and who swear loyalty to him. He does not care about the good people, nor about anyone who rises up against his tyranny and injustice, because he does not know how to accept his defeat, just like Saul, that evil king who fought until the end not to give up his seat on the throne, even after the prophet told him that his time was done. What he secretly wants is to be president of the entire world forever, as his tyrant friends and confidants are doing in their own countries, who have their nations humiliated and tied under their severe dictatorship. This Antichrist of the world was found guilty by a jury in a court of law. He is an adulterer, a pedophile in disguise, and a human trafficker of children, teenagers, and women. Donald Trump's mass deportation plan is to separate mothers from their children and put them in camps. He's already done it before, because while he was president, he separated more than 1,000 migrant children from their parents, and they have yet to be reunited with them. This is similar to what Hitler did. Well, Donald Trump is German and is a fan of Hitler's atrocities. He has books with Hitler's quotes on his nightstand. He said Hitler had done good things, which is exactly what the previous Antichrist said. He thinks he is above the law, and that if he becomes president again in this next term, he will be saved from being arrested and condemned by the laws of men. But he forgets that God's law prevails over all and that Christ is here on earth. That is why God says, "I will come to you for judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and the adulterers, against those who swear falsely, and those who defraud the laborer of his wages, the widow and the orphan, and those who do injustice to the foreigner, not fearing me, says Jehovah of the heavenly armies, MelquisedecLisbet." Jehovah, Melchizedek, tests the righteous with his word, Christ Lisbet, but his soul abhors the evil one and the one who loves violence, and they will never be able to understand his word, his beautiful holiness. The fear of Jehovah is to abhor evil, pride, and arrogance, the evil path, and the perverse mouth. Let us not make the same mistake by believing this other evil and wicked man who is full of lies and abominations that God abhors, because he who is an accomplice to a thief hates his own soul, for he hears the wicked curse and says nothing. That is how we were in the past dispensation. When we were deceived by the Antichrist, we defended him and fought with whoever we had to in order to be faithful to that sea monster who failed us. But Christ Lisbet enlightened our eyes so that we could see the true God face to face. So, if we have truly believed through her faith in God, the Father Melchizedek, then we will not be deceived by anything that earthly men say and do. Much less will we be afraid, because the Lord and Lady MelquisedecLisbet go before us. Christ, in her eternal love for the many who would be her holy people, is present today as a protective lioness caring for her cubs, and is with her head held high next to her beloved husband and King Melchizedek, her eternal giant protector, to carry out everything that they both promised each other. That is why it says that the Queen of the South, who would rise in judgment against that evil generation, will condemn it with the splendor of her arrival, with the spirit of her mouth, which is holy. We have the privilege of seeing Christ herself marching in front of us, and she will be with us forever. We have the certainty that God MelquisedecLisbet is our guide and will always help us in everything. They will never abandon us. But this Antichrist is another thief of Christ's sheep. They are not his sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, that is, when it is time for him to have to pay a high price for what he has sown, he abandons the sheep and runs away, and another wolf comes and snatches the sheep and scatters them, because he does not care about the sheep. So, let us keep our eyes fixed on the Good Shepherd, Christ Lisbet, the author and fulfiller of her own faith, who, by the joy set before her, endured the cross out of love for us. She didn't care about the magnitude of the reproaches she would receive from wicked and evil men, and with boldness and courage, she sat at the right hand of God's throne. We are witnesses of that. Let us not change our way of thinking. So then, cast out any fears and cowardice in the almighty name of God the Father and of Christ, MelquisedecLisbet. Amen.